Hi, I'm
Hey guys, how you doing tonight?
good.
Hi, Michelle.
I'm
Hi,
just
guys.
getting over COVID, so I figured it'd be better on Zoom.
Thank you.
That works.
I think everybody's had it just about by now.
No, I have not.
Good job.
All right, so I'm gonna call the meeting to order, September 6th, 2022 at 6 o'clock. We've got, tonight's agenda is, board member roll call, approval of agendas, approval of minutes from August 5th, 2022, then bylaw discussion, public comment, and then adjourn. We'll do, or I look for a motion for that.
We should do the board member roll call to
You
introduce
wanna do
ourselves
that?
first.
We should do that first. All right, board, roll call, go ahead, Fred.
Fred Miller.
Megan Randall.
Michelle
Jesse
Peckroff.
Boxer.
Oh,
Sorry.
got you both. Jim Winchester.
Brian Harris.
John Bashy. Okay,
Now we can, I'll make a motion, we approve the agenda.
a second. Okay, we got a first and a second, approve.
Roll call vote.
Then, then we're gonna do a vote on that. Start with Fred.
Fred, aye.
Aye.
Hi.
Aye.
Aye.
Brian, aye.
John, aye. Okay. All right, so approval for, the minutes. Everybody have a quick second to look at those?
Yeah, we need to make a change on the top where for board president.
I don't have the minutes. I thought I did.
Board president, yeah.
You don't have the minutes? Yeah, you don't have the minutes.
I have.
Are they, is a stack of them right there?
Is that a bunch of them? Yeah.
Thanks.
Where it says board president, it shows me, but it shows me as vice chair. The vice chair is Brian Harris.
I was hoping you wouldn't catch that.
And the clerk is
Megan Randall.
Megan Randall.
So, what are my clerkly duties?
Just being,
Take notes, right?
yeah,
Whoever's here.
it's only if we didn't have
Okay,
secretary.
okay, I'm the backup.
And you would be the chair if both,
Chair.
the chair and the
We're out,
vice
we're out,
chair.
yeah. Okay.
Anybody notice anything else for mistakes?
You're
Pretty
saying,
much, it's in the process.
you're saying that like there is one. Did you find something?
Well, if nobody else is gonna say it, I'm gonna keep my trap shut.
Okay.
No, I didn't find anything.
I ain't seen anything myself, but.
All right, well then I'll make a motion, we accept the agenda with the changes noted.
A second.
Okay, and vote, Fred?
Aye.
Aye, Megan.
Hi, Stacy.
Aye, Michelle.
Aye, Jim.
Aye, Brian.
And John's and I. All right, moving on. Bylaw discussion.
Wait. Approval of minutes of August 5th?
That was what we just.
That was.
Yeah, that was it.
Okay, that was.
Yep.
I thought we had an older one. Bylaw discussion. Why are we discussing, what do we,
All right, so what we're gonna do is I want to go over and review some of the bylaws. We had if you haven't seen the meeting, you can go back and watch some of the meetings for the DRB. Jimmy could tell you too, it was very tense discussion over a permit. It wound up getting settled.
oh, that one.
Everything's
okay.
said and done on it. But by the way that it was set up, it made sense to go back and look at some things because I feel we're gonna have the same issue in the future, and that's not gonna help the DRB be able to make any decisions the way it's currently set up. There's obviously something has been changed from what it originally was to now that has prevented or is preventing businesses from running or having any kind of an option out in R1 or R2 locations versus what they were before. They were, people have businesses that were able to open them and or do things on their property like that. And now their tension is that you can't do anything. It was presented to us that there's no options to have a business out there. So if you're already pre-existing is one thing, but no new ones are able to do anything. So I don't think that's a proper course to be going through. So I wanted to discuss that and see what the.
What about the person who objected so strenuously? That would happen too. It's not just that the business person wants to have a business, but there are people around who don't want to have businesses.
Well, they're right. Yeah.
So what, how we just change the bylaw to allow the businesses? I don't think that's,
Well, could be stipulation, but right now with the way it's set up, the DRB can't control what things could happen. We can't put parameters or anything else on it.
Can I ask what was the issue over this particular permit? Like, what did the person want to do and what was the complaint?
The person wanted to continue a business and store, not actually run a business out of it, but store business stuff there. Vehicles and equipment.
when you say continue a business, the business is set up elsewhere
The business is run out of a different
in
location.
a commercial location.
I don't know if it's commercial or not where he was at, but I think it's residential where he was,
In
but
Bennington?
Obviously, it's rubbish trucks.
Okay.
So, the neighborhood's complaining, I think at this point, DRB can only make concessions, make fences, do things to help the property, and
right.
help the neighbors out, but it still gets down to, it's about taking the property value of the neighbors down. This lady was trying to sell her house and, she had it with a realtor. He had it sold more or less, but saw what was going on next door and they backed out.
Okay.
So this is a little bit sticky.
Okay, so, but like currently, don't we have like, you can have this many cars and it's fine, or you can have however many cars you want as long as it's screened properly and not an eyesore. Isn't that what our?
Well, let's,
Yeah, pretty much.
do you have a copy of the bylaws?
I'm actually skimming through it.
Yes, we just got
Let's
some.
hear them. So we're, just say.
I was gonna say, I'll read it all out loud. We'll be here a couple hours.
Isn't there a section on,
I literally just started skimming, so I'm,
Oh, okay.
I'm on
Okay.
section 2.
oh, okay.
Right. Well, and
So I'm sorry, I don't have them all memorized by heart.
If I
you can
can just summarize.
get you closer to it by some of these here were 4.2.
Section 4.2,
Yeah, that was one of the numbers. that were-
categories of approval.
That was for variances and stuff that was changed, and it's section, I'll find it here. It says under VSA 4446 bylaws.
Am I mistaken though? Did somebody give a permit before we got, these boards got together? And the last persons in that position gave a permit for these trucks to park there?
He had a business there prior, construction
Right,
business
right.
prior in that location.
So there was a previous permit
Previous
issued,
permit.
which
Okay, all right.
It wasn't like he was starting a new one.
Right.
He bought the location and it was already stuff there. He just pulled his stuff in and parked it.
Didn't need a new curb cut or anything like that. It was
Nothing.
already,
No,
it was already there.
he's all right with his house on the property,
And there's gonna be a house, it's already permitted for a house and everything else. It just wasn't done.
but the rest of the stuff gets,
But what it was, and again, Jimmy, I can tell you that it was very tough to look at and argue. We've had spent hours of I understand that people have a right to argue about it. But if some of the stuff just didn't make sense to argue, instead of asking for a fence or something like you can do in bylaws, they were hiring attorneys and stuff instead. And it doesn't make sense to be hiring an attorney, spending money on that when you could put up some sections of fence and wouldn't have seen anything either.
Right.
It just didn't make sense to me. So then the more the arguments went on.
Well, if you put up a
Just kinda-
fence, would it interfere with the view of the house?
No, it was just a fence on the road.
Right.
He was limited in his ability to screen though, because where his property is right underneath the Velco lines, the high tension power lines.
Right.
So if.
Yeah.
he couldn't
So one
screen it
section you
off,
can't
then
put-
he wouldn't be able to access for maintenance, so. That was kind of the tricky.
Well, we expected other people like the power company and the stuff going into the river, or so to speak, the stream that went into the fishing game. And nobody protested this. Those people expected this property and they cleared it. So left us without anybody else intervening.
Yeah. And so I,
So
we thought.
It's just trucks parked there? Why would what would that have, how would that impact the stream? I mean, like.
Well,
oil?
water runoff.
then
There's a culvert inside of this property.
water runoff, if it got oils in it or something like
Oils from the
that.
trucks?
That's
Yeah.
But he's, okay,
But it was inspected and,
effluent from the trucks.
right, they said there was nothing there, so. But it became very hard for us to look at it and try to make decisions, like we can't, based off of what they were trying to say, we weren't able to even put stipulations on it. We can't say, yes, put another fence up here, or
Right.
yes, do this over here, do this, that would help the property, help screen out the neighbors. We couldn't say anything about it. It was basically tied our hands. We had to listen for three
Oh, yeah.
meetings with this.
He was doing a little bit of the things, it was an improvement from our first visit.
Right. Definite big improvement.
Yeah, a big improvement, but still, the neighbors weren't happy.
So how did it?
Is this property grandfathered in as commercial?
No,
No.
Well, then how can it store
It had a-
dumpsters there?
It had original permits on it that go with the property, so the permit, what it wound up turning out to is that the permit that he applied for didn't need, so he wound up pulling his permit. That's the way it ended. He already had permits in place that he found.
so now
How are we
he's-
involved here today about this?
Because we're supposed to look at the bylaws and see if there's something we should change.
What I wanted to do is kind of go through bylaws, kind of discuss some of the stuff of why there was a lot of changes things got taken out from the old bylaws into the new ones. And I believe somewhere in that is what's tying us up. Some of the changes that were made are not allowing businesses to go into R1 or R2 anymore. So that's the position that attorneys took at the time of discussion, said you can't put any businesses in R1 or R2 anymore.
So R being rural.
So people came to town and wanted to do something. How do they do it?
What we do with the planning board
Explain to
affects the
Stacy what-
DRB is what we do.
Right. What happens here and how these bylaws are affects the job of the DRB to enforce it. If we can't enforce it, then there's some kind of issue going on why we can't enforce it. And that's what I want to look at. I want to see what the situation is as to why we had a hard time enforcing or being able to do anything under the discussion.
How did it wind up? What was the outcome?
He pulled him in.
He pulled his permit because he found other permits already pre-existing,
So he's going to go ahead and do what he was going to do
Well,
originally.
pretty much.
With attorneys in there, we don't know, okay?
Right. They're gonna probably still have arguments, but it doesn't come to the DRB now because of that. He didn't need a permit from us now. But if he was here to have a permit or applied for a permit, how does the DRB go about doing that when our hands were tied? I mean, they were telling us how our hands were tied. They highlighted the things in here. This was a paper that was handed to the board. It's what they were gonna go to court with. It was just documentation that they were gonna use. And
The best the DRB could make conditions, in which we made, but didn't really fit the new bylaws.
right, we couldn't put them in because of
We
that.
were, you know,
Maybe the new bylaws ultimately turned out to be the better mousetrap.
well, it could be,
know?
but every 5 years you gotta have a new one, right?
Yeah.
So we worked for 5 years making a new one.
You know?
Right.
But it didn't take long for this to present itself.
It presented it pretty quick.
Right.
That was
You know,
not far ahead.
and it involved realtors and real estate lawyers.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Oh, very much.
And it's like,
And what I suggest, has anybody I'll just say it this way, who has not seen, just raise your hand real quick and I can see the ones on TV, or just say, who has not seen the DRB meetings over that permit?
I heard about them.
I did not, I heard about them, but I did not watch those particular ones because I was traveling during all that.
I watched the one,
The last one?
the one that was
Yes,
like,
okay.
it was
well attended by people.
it was like,
Yes. So.
it definitely left a feeling, a taste in my mouth that something is wrong.
Something wasn't right.
This took very little time for this to present itself,
You're very right.
you know?
We all kind of
And
felt.
say, time for maybe a good idea.
Was it the August?
Not too far into this thing to take a really close look at it and see if something was radically changed.
Yeah.
Right.
That-
So,
The lawyers looked at it.
right.
And
Maybe,
Okay, so we're looking at, like, the purpose of the rural residential 2 district is to maintain and preserve the agricultural character and scenic qualities of outlying areas while providing the opportunity for low-density residential and limited non-residential development. So that isn't explicit enough?
there's limit,
well, the
limited.
fly in the ointment is, another part of RR2 already had somebody in there. The tree people,
Right.
okay? And that's been there for quite a while.
What, the denses?
Yeah, the dentists. So over here, RR2, the dentists are there, do very well, nice. Over here, on the other part of the property, is this person trying to get into, you know, and is in the RR2. So there was another thing that was,
There's businesses already doing this stuff. And I know it's.
and that, I don't know when dentists got in there, but they've been there a while. And nobody, there was no objections to them.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, property values got devalued, and now we're in a mess.
There's certain services that are done, small businesses like landscapers, loggers, rubbish haulers.
There you go.
They provide a valuable service to the community, and yet they're regulated to where they can't store their equipment in where their home is, or in a certain preferred neighborhood, apparently, where it's okay to pile all that equipment into a village, into a less affluent maybe neighborhood, where you can just pile people on top of people and equipment on top of that. So there's something wrong with that. It really creates a really a kind of an unkind picture.
Well, no, but how would you change the word, how,
Well, we don't know yet.
That's what we're trying to figure out. We want to see where.
I mean,
the
it
changes
does
are.
allow for,
For
limited development.
However, when the DRB tried to exercise their duties
Yeah.
and create some limits, they were cut off. They were cut off at the pass by the lawyers,
Right.
you know?
To argue that they were going to.
They were basically told that you don't have a say. You can't do anything with it. You can't issue any limitations. You can't issue a permit, no matter what, with this thing.
That's what we were told, and they actually, and I'll say it on the
The only
record.
permit was
They
allowed,
said that they were going to sue the town if
Right.
we made any decision.
Yeah.
and that made it complicated.
Uncalled for. We should be able to make a decision. That's what a DRB is a quasi-judicial board. We can make a decision. But they were trying to cut us off and say they're going to sue us and everything else if we made any decisions on that permit.
so they were talking tough.
Well, yeah, it's like,
Well,
You got,
It's-
Well, we have to not run scared from all these
well, you got.
We're not.
threats of.
Your boards are built of people who have full-time jobs, who live in the community. They're not getting paid well for being there, but they're being there for their community. And then they're facing off with lawyers who make big bucks. They know all the language, they know all the things to say that it will intimidate people and push people around.
That's what I'm saying, we've got bylaws though.
Such as.
Right.
Just, it says right here,
Right.
And you were driving that.
limited,
We hear it then, and suddenly.
you know,
And you-
residential
practices-
development.
Exercise.
Why didn't you highlight that?
Exercise your bylaws at risk of being brought into court with a lawsuit and cost the town a whole bunch of money
Any
to defend
equipment,
yourself.
I would say something simple
So,
as any
There's a
equipment.
lot of discussion back and forth on this, a lot of discussion. And,
It shouldn't happen.
Something as simple as that, and there's your
You had
example.
a DRB.
This is all out of the new one,
long as
right?
Fred, you're impugning these.
How much has changed from that one?
Oh, I remember, part of it got
I
changed.
want to know, what are you saying?
Moved almost 30 pages of redundancies.
Well,
I'm just trying
was
to
further-
payment against lawyers.
More defined.
And
definitions.
well, that's about it. No one's illegal here.
Everybody, hey, John.
Yeah,
Right, John. So you want to go through the bylaws and discuss maybe tightening them up or trying to figure out how to make everybody happy, right?
good luck with that.
in a way, yes, trying to make everybody happy, but more so, I think, is trying to get something laid out in it so that the DRB has that control again.
Yeah, makes
So
sense.
that if we don't have control, this is only the first time. It's going to happen again.
Right.
And-
I was gonna say,
and how many
at
times?
this point, there's no wiggle room. There's no point having a DRB at that point.
Right.
At that point, you only need
That's
zoning
right.
administrator.
Right.
Like Fred says, these are businesses that help the community. Pick up
Yeah.
a rubbish, tree removal,
And the thing
Other
is.
people may not like it, but they'll find it really hard to exist in a society where you don't have services.
Right, and the nice, the good part is that, and I agree, Jimmy said this a couple, about a month ago, I remember him saying it. He's very happy that there's several people from this board that sit on the other boards. Because we get to see it. We can see what we're trying.
Yeah, how
we
it
had in
works
place,
out.
How do we enforce it? And that's what we had for a problem is we were not able to enforce what we had in bylaws. We were shut down and forced and told we were gonna be sued and whatnot if we tried to make any kind of changes to it. And they
That's why we-
specifically went over those highlighted, I got a highlighted section, one me getting
That's
look.
why we just wrote an ordinance, a junk ordinance as well, or you're not supposed to call it junk, but whatever that ordinance is.
But
It's
that,
because for the same reason that it was too hard to enforce the bylaws.
right. So, and that's the thing, if we need to have something in place to do this.
DRB. We're trying to make a perfect, to please everybody, so to speak. And we failed.
Hard, yeah.
In a sense, we failed.
Right. What Michelle said is I'll take the second. We're trying to please everyone.
Right.
Yeah.
The hard part I felt, and I don't know how Jimmy felt, but how I felt sitting there, was I felt like my hands were tied. I'm being told that you're going to get sued, the board's going to get sued, town's going to get sued if we make any kind of decision. But yet I know that our position on that board is quasi judicial. We can change those things. We can look at the bylaws and try to make some, we weren't doing a variance to it, but I'll say it that way. We can make variances or some changes to those things. And we were told specifically, no, you cannot, you have to follow it specifically, and that's it.
Yep.
And that shut us
You were
down.
told by this person's lawyer. Did we have any legal representative?
We did.
No, that's why I got it. We wound up shutting it down.
You know, and
So they couldn't discuss it.
my wife asked me after how'd it go, and I said, you know what? This is a case where in a lot of cases I felt, in a lot of meetings, both sides were right.
Yeah.
I was sympathetic to the landowners for loss of value, and I was sympathetic to the position we were in.
Right.
And we sat there like,
Right.
and
Well, it's
we're trying to
tough.
make it right, but already there's two businesses in, are two.
Right.
There's probably a lot more than that.
Let's.
Well, I know, there must be, yeah. there-
RR is rural residential too. It's one of the designations of the
Oh, I'm sure there's, yes, there is. Oh, God, yes.
You know, I mean, I'm just saying for our newer.
Oh, no, all over town though, you know, this has been going on for years. Backyard mechanics and, running businesses out of their yards.
Now, the thing is,
Those people hire people as well. So they're providing jobs
They were.
down.
right,
That was another issue. There were 6 jobs there.
Right.
Yeah.
but, and again, the basics of it is that I feel we need to look through these, compare something. Obviously, the old bylaws, people were allowed to do it. Nelson was given permits out to people in R1, RR2. He was given permits and telling people, I'm going to say it from my perspective. I have a business at my house and I was told by Nelson to go put it there when I was trying to put it on Route 7. Now, he said, go to your house. You can put it there anytime you want. Under the bylaws, you can do that. Okay, so that's what I did. Now, now we're at a crossroad having new bylaws. Something obviously had to have changed in it to say, no, you can't do it at all. So that's my concern. How can we go do it here, everything up until the new bylaws pass? We could. And now we can't.
One major change in the structure of the bylaws, of the presentation of the bylaws, was there was a grid in the old bylaws. You could follow, and it showed what's allowed, what's not allowed, what's allowed with conditions. That grid was removed. So it implies there's some discretion now.
Right.
But then the lawyers argue you have no discretion.
I got it.
You don't have the grid anymore either.
So,
The grid was removed because it was confusing, that's
Yeah,
all.
well, maybe. It's more
I mean,
confusing.
I remember that. I remember that discussion.
so in reading the RR2, right from the zoning bylaws.
Wait, what part are you reading?
I'm sorry, I am in section 5.2 rural and residential district.
Yeah, that's what I'm reading.
R2, under 5.2.2 permitted uses, no site plan required.
Yeah.
Read down through that.
And it says,
Yep, but right after that, you got permitted uses, site plan required, and you are allowed to have sawmill associated, log and lumber storage, auto service and repair businesses. So right there are examples where 2 large businesses that are going to require lots of traffic, lots of heavy equipment are already granted an exception. So my feeling is if you're already going to grant an exception for that, perhaps we need to, my recommendation would be to add language that is more encompassing of a business that may need to store equipment, not necessarily running the business there, but to store.
so equipment storage is what we're looking
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I mean, because
That's exactly what.
back in section 5.2.2, at the end of it, section,
And that was-
use does not generate noise that is audible beyond the property lines of the subject lot. But then right under permitted uses with review required, you're allowed to have a sawmill.
With conditions.
With conditions, I acknowledge that. But I'm saying
And that's what they were trying to say too, is that it wasn't listed in the list.
Yeah.
It's not in there, so you
So
can't
it
have.
says on 5.2.3, it says equipment and materials may be stored on the premises if they're screened from the adjoining properties.
yeah. But because it wasn't, but because that type of business is not explicitly listed is what they were saying.
They were arguing because it didn't have those types.
So that's why I'm saying we should add a little bit more ambiguous language to where it does give the DRB, yeah.
Unambiguous.
Well, this is pretty unambiguous, the way it's listed right now, and that's what they're saying. It doesn't specifically list it, therefore you can't have it.
Right.
I'm saying you should add a little bit of language there, perhaps even an exclusion.
Exactly where you?
I'm talking at the end of section 5.2.3, permitted uses, site plan review required. At the end, you have after part 8, cemeteries, you have sawmill, auto service, cemeteries. At the end of all that,
No,
I would say section 9, either you have something that says, business may store heavy equipment.
Storage.
Yeah, storage, or put a clear exemption in there, or as determined by DRB during any review.
Okay.
of equipment.
But it looks like you're changing the fence lines. I mean,
Right.
change the rules to fit ourselves. But you're right. That should have
We're
been.
gonna, next week, we're gonna have to do one that says, oh, and also smokers. Oh, and we're gonna,
Well, I mean, but changing the zoning bylaws.
What about
distilleries.
equipment, like equipment, product, because what these guys have, well, say it's, they have lumber that they need to store.
Well, that's,
If we're
I
just,
think
if we're
already,
just putting in, if we're just putting in equipment, then, like Megan just said, that somebody will be like, well, what about this? So we need to try to cover, like
storage for
work-
business
work-
equipment,
Business equipment, supplies.
storage for,
Work product, work supplies, especially if somebody's working on somebody's.
so, but what about this person though, who has this property now?
Next door, the neighbor.
This neighbor.
What if it's, if it's screened?
They were there first.
Well, they were saying they cannot.
Actually, in that case, it wasn't. The woman who's selling the house bought the property from the previous owner and built the house there.
Oh, and he never.
Now they're just trying to sell it and.
See, that ought to be part of that ought to be illegal.
It may be.
Oh, by the way, I have a permit to park,
Well, again,
great big.
I know they bought it from it because I remember the house being built there, but they bought it from the original owner or the guy who was running the business there originally.
So can that be in the bylaws at all, that sellers must include?
Look around before they do.
Well, if you're buying something
To
that-
buyer, all permits. No, it's the other way around. The buyer has to be smart enough to.
Right,
check.
there's gotta be something already in the subdivision laws.
Right.
Built a place next to the tannery back in the day, right?
Yeah.
Say, geez, there's a tannery next door, it smells.
Right.
We had that happen.
And in this case, I don't know, on that, we're basically just saying, this is what he was trying to store there, and they're saying, you can't do it. You guys can't do it at all, is what they're trying to tell us.
So
We should
now,
be able to say,
wait a minute, so what is the process though, John? If can we just sit here right today and add a number 9, number 10? We have to go through the whole.
That's getting checked down. I don't know the exact process. I know we have to.
Does that have to happen? Do the newer bylaws have to
We're gonna do
happen?
an amendment.
When is 5 years up anyway?
Yeah, in the new 5 years, yeah.
Yeah, but what I have been told so far is they believe it's just an amendment. We have to do it. They don't know, the only part where they're checking on, Tara's checking on it. I'm not sure if Hannah's helping her with that or not, but they're checking on to see if it's required to have meetings on it after, or if it's just an amendment to those things. If it's just an amendment, it's sent to the.
I think if it was
board.
just an amendment, and I mean, our current meeting is public. Anybody watching this, if it was the person,
We could go through these things.
Whatever we put together, we're just gonna put it together, and if we come up with something that works, that we think will help the DRB do that, I wanna get it submitted to the select board, and we'll go from there. We have to do it.
What are specific businesses that are excluded from the rural residential?
Anything technically anything not explicitly listed out.
Whatever's not listed on that.
So right now this says, you can have a family,
child care facility, a community group home, home occupations, like Michelle's, an inn or bed and breakfast, garden center or plant nursery, a sawmill and associated log and lumber storage, auto service and repair business, cemeteries, and then we're proposing adding,
There's nothing in it about marijuana.
what do we add? Storage for business equipment? Is that a garden center storage for?
Well, we have, like I said earlier, we have essential services.
No, I got that, but
We have.
Not just
We have
those.
landscapers, people that move the earth. We have people that move.
Plow people?
Plow people, we have people that move the rubbish. Our community needs all of them. And you might as well not designate anything for residential and building houses if you can't
You can't have landscapers.
No, and you know, like my brother's a tree guy and he has,
Right, specifically, he does tree work
Pay
and
rent.
trash removal, so the two things he was
He
storing.
does do wood, yeah.
what was it saying?
Yes, he specifically was storing vehicles. He does tree service and trash removal. That's what he was doing there, storing there.
So we would want to say storage for business, business equipment and vehicles,
Heavy equipment.
heavy business,
Heavy equipment is what there was originally there. That's what the permits were for, is heavy
The
equipment.
wood guy's got plenty of heavy equipment.
storage for heavy equipment and business vehicles.
They do a lot of business.
And paper and product and whatever, you know, tools and things like that. You don't want to just leave it at heavy equipment because then you're limiting people that have smaller businesses.
Small
that-
business, yeah.
Right, small stuff, right.
Yeah, small stuff.
So, business, tools, for business? Business tools?
Yeah, products, yeah, if they sell product, but they need a place to store it,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Supplies and stuff.
yeah, supplies, product, tools. And it's, you know, sorted.
Business tools, supplies and products? And product?
Well, a landscaper piles up his bags and bags of mulch and stuff like that, you know?
Yeah,
Well, like I said, my brother runs a tree business down on Long Island, and he pays a tremendous amount to store it just.
I mean, are we to a point anti-business here?
You know,
yeah.
to park his trucks and his chipper and everything.
Yeah, the chipper's a big piece of property, yeah.
Yeah.
Is there a certain acreage that's necessary
That,
for these businesses to be on residential property?
Rural residential, what, is there a zoning,
There are property size call outs.
There are some different things, I'm sure. I don't know what they are off the top of my head on
on
them,
wetlands.
but that was checked as a wetland too. That wasn't a concern
I
over
think
there. They said, so.
like 200 feet of frontage or something. I thought I saw in like that 4 point.
It depends on what. Some things have more defined call outs than others.
Yeah. I think
Like there
that's
is a call out
5 acres.
specifically
Yeah.
for landscaping businesses, provided that all equipment, vehicle, material storage associated with the business is set back 50 feet from any lot line and is screened from adjacent residential
so
properties.
we ought to add that about this stuff too. We want to set it back. and-
Well, the DRB could add a condition, which is right there.
Yeah, that's
So-
under permitted uses with site plan review
Okay,
required.
So, you know, is that enforceable?
Hey, Hannah,
Yes.
could you get in touch with, I'd say probably, let's say Matt, and see if we can get him in here for our next meeting too? Just to have insight from him, being the chair on that board too, how he was approached or feeling about this situation. Maybe he can provide some wordage that may help too.
So, okay, I've just been scribbling what we've been saying. Maybe Hannah, you can say what you've copied down. I'm looking at, now we're calling this what was the word you used? Addendum? No,
Amendment.
Amendment.
Amendment, yeah.
oh my, words are failing me. And we're saying, okay, so it's an inn or breakfast, or, so we're using nouns, so cemetery, so storage for heavy equipment, business vehicles, business tools, supplies, and product.
Yeah.
Now, and then we'd have with a setback of 50 feet back from the road, and this will come in that later section, right?
Yeah, so at the very end, you have this section here under 526, which has your dimensional standards for the rural residential 2, RR2 district. So it's a nifty little chart. There are, like I just read, there are some items that have a specific call out embedded within them. such as the agricultural, I believe the garage one.
Yeah, there's in the home occupations, meeting and allowing conditions, the use of conducted entirely within a primary residence building is not more than 1,500 square feet. That was what got put in to the new bylaw. So that was, you can use, if it was a 5,000 square foot building, you can only use 1,500 for storage.
For an accessory.
Yeah, I remember.
Inside that.
Accessory building, yeah.
Yeah, I remember part of that discussion was we were worried that somebody would say, oh, it's my primary home, but really it's like one room out of like
Yeah.
giant
Right.
building.
Right, I remember that, yeah.
And then there was limits like, oh, well, you couldn't have more than 2 people live there if it is truly a business. And we were trying to draw a distinction between business and private.
Right. And
So should we say storage and or parking? Or just storage?
Someone's could.
I think just storage of. I would say just storage of it. It's storage.
Storage of heavy equipment, business vehicles, business tools, does that make sense?
So maybe, well, how about something like this? How about something to the effect of like property uses can include the sawmill usage, garage, agricultural, landscaping, but not limited to.
Well, why don't you put in home-based business that
Yeah,
covers
yeah.
home-based business?
Yeah.
But also I like the, but not.
Where was that? Where were you just reading
As well.
from, Brian?
For which section? So on page 19, section
Oh, it's-
524 conditional uses, all the way at the end of that. You have part 6, a landscaping business, provided that all equipment, that's where it has its listed setback. Then it talks about removal of soil and that kind of stuff. That one has the specific cutback for that. That is under conditional
Yes.
uses. Then you also have under permitted uses, section 523, part 6, 7, and 8 is where it lists sawmill, associated log and lumber, auto service, repair business.
Yeah, that's where I
and
was putting.
cemeteries.
Are all of those uses contingent on having a home on that site as well as?
So all uses are permitted pursuant to requirements of section 423 site plan approval. Section 423.
That's not all in here.
Section 423.
That's a good question though. What
Yeah,
if you had just a piece of property that you're wanting to store?
Site plan approval.
Your house, it's a separate piece.
they didn't include that, so that's not included in your, which I'm writing.
Yeah, that was just, they pulled out sections is what that is. They just pulled sections that they wanted to highlight.
I picked- And they didn't highlight the stuff that. was against-
There's a lot more to it. That's what I'm saying.
I mean, they did not highlight, where was that thing that we said, you know?
So it just says here that in accordance with 24 VSA section 4416, any use other than single family or 2-family dwellings or any accessory or structure and improvements to such a use may not be established, expanded, or modified without approval of a site plan by the DRB. Upon the filing of an application for zoning permit, the zoning administrator will determine if the project requires site plan review. So it does lay the groundwork for you can apply for an exemption. You can apply to the DRB.
And right now, it goes to Mike, and Mike, on this case, said it nothing falls under him, so they would need a permit. So that's why.
Yeah, he kicked it to the DRB, which was right on his part.
Right.
He didn't have authority to grant that.
What about that, there was a brouhaha because someone who doesn't even live in Pownell, I might add, had a fit about somebody building a big garage on Mount Anthony Road.
I remember that.
Yeah, and it's fine. It's a big blue garage, looks fine, no traffic, no added traffic, no nothing.
Oh, I know what you're talking about, yeah.
Yeah, you know, so how did he get to do that? And
That was under the old bylaws first.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't. No, it was
Oh,
not.
yeah, it was. That was
Yeah, that was back.
3 or 4 years. That was,
No, it was, I've been here, we had already passed the bylaws. No, it had nothing to do with the old
that was
bylaws.
predating.
No, it
Absolutely.
wasn't. It was not.
I
You're
remember, I
wrong.
remember the meeting. It was early in my political career.
Oh, God.
Maybe we're thinking of two different things, Frank.
Yes. It was one up on Anthony Road,
This
yes.
was a couple of years ago.
And he's storing heavy equipment.
Yeah, it was a couple of
He's
years
doing
ago.
cars or something is all he's doing. You know, he's a car freak. So does this guy did he envision building a shed of any or an accessory building as they call
There's
it?
already a building there.
That's a building in there, yeah.
But there,
There's already a building that they were working out.
It wouldn't all fit in there to be.
No,
out of sight, out of
it's not
mind.
that
Yes.
big, but it's a building there.
It's more for small storage and they were working on vehicles.
Yeah. So,
It was, if they had to repair something, they'd put it in there.
Well,
It's a
you know,
garage.
It does seem to me that sort of I don't know, I hate to say it, but I mean,
Well, if he applied for a
the
permit
character.
for a garage to repair vehicles, he could have gotten an exemption based on that.
Yeah, yeah.
Because garages and repair facilities are allowed.
Right, but that's,
Yeah.
that was already in place. All he was doing is brought in all of his trucks because
Yeah.
How many?
I'm not-
So at that point, he could almost play a gray area and say, oh, all the vehicles are in for routine maintenance and just say it's routine.
How many
maintenance.
vehicles were there anyway?
I don't want, I'm not here to try to.
They come and go.
Did they smell?
see,
He
we,
had to move, my understanding, he had to
at
move.
the
his
end of the
stuff.
day, when we were there
Yeah,
in the
he was getting
morning,
a hassle in
Right,
Bennington.
so he just pulled
And
it
he
down
wanted
here,
the
bought
location
the
to
property,
expand.
pulled it
Yeah,
down.
I totally get why he was doing it and I'm not opposed to any business trying to expand because he provides a valuable service.
Right. But it's, how do we, that's the thing, is how do we?
How do we accommodate it and still try to make it
I think
friendly to everybody else?
Maybe list the criteria that DRB needs to examine,
Well, there's,
noise screening.
well,
That's, we wanted.
you mentioned that, you actually don't have to do that because it's already called out.
Yeah, that's what we were going to lean to do. We were going to lean to saying some of that stuff.
But
This,
then-
this argument shut us down from saying all of it.
And anyway, he couldn't have put screening in because of,
He was, part of the property is under the power lines, so
Just the
because of that, you
power.
couldn't build under the power lines.
And in any view, if you look, you have to see the property, but from that property, you would block, everything would be blocked out by fences down two sides. Under the power line, that next property sits up higher on a hill, so you look.
so you're
you look
overlooking
over
the
it anyway.
power line into the property
You look
without
right through the power
any
line.
place to put any screening. Because the power lines go right through the property.
Right.
And the only concession was, they were piling wood under it,
Right.
which they removed.
They moved all that.
So you had one guy satisfied. Here's what you look at. You're looking at as a neighbor with a hat on or a businessman trying to run a business. And that's the problem.
nightmare.
I think the simplest way to deal with something like this going forward is if we can do an amendment, I'm sure we're gonna have to do public hearings and that whole process. But just simply adding verbiage for basically giving the DRB, you know, a little bit more leeway in making judgment calls and actually putting verbiage in there
Right.
that, you know, per DRB discretion, or, you know, you can spell it out more about heavy equipment storage, you know, business equipment storage.
They have public hearings, but input is limited to a direct neighbor, abutting neighbors.
Right.
Am I right?
Well, on a permit, but not when it comes to,
be a-
an actual amendment or zoning bylaw change. Then that's open to input from the entire town. I think. I'm not positive on that process. Don't quote me on it.
Right, the Tara was supposed to be checking, she's gonna check into what our process is. My understanding right now is we can rewrite some stuff if we need to, based off how we feel, if it's working or not working.
Yeah, and I mean, it's.
And then we submit it.
All the steps are in there for like, as far as like site review, submitting plans, like, don't change any of that. I'm
No.
not, by no means am I saying somebody just comes in, throws an application and we just rubber stamp it.
No.
No, I don't want to change this. Yeah, that's,
No,
I
yeah.
don't want to change any of that stuff. I'm just looking
What
at
about,
that issue.
what about, I mean, so BCRC was very much a part of this. Has anyone asked them about this latest?
I don't think we've gotten that far. This is like really one of our first.
Just
Right, no, this-
what they
right, no,
suggest,
this-
you know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
this is just our first step in it. I wanted to just get discussion going on this so we can kind of get an idea. I mean, I think we're further than where I thought we were.
If we decide we do want to move forward with this, we should reach out to them because they'll help draft the legal language of it and help guide us through what we need to do for the appropriate steps.
And we have two guys that are already working with us now from them on
Yeah,
finding
on
the
the other
business
thing.
locations.
Yeah.
Maybe they could.
I don't know if
help us with
that's-
this a little.
This should be something that's part of what they're looking at.
Could be.
Sure, it doesn't,
They can't,
yeah.
they take the input from the town. And then they try to process based off that.
Right.
Which is what they did. And, this is one of those things where I think it was just kind of, it got overlooked. Yeah, it was unforeseen. I mean, that's.
And that's it.
But that's the thing about writing laws, writing bylaws, you never, there's.
Yeah, it's constant, it's always. gonna
Unintended
change.
consequences.
It's always gonna change based on the needs of the town, the demographics.
It should be.
Stuff's always gonna change.
There should be no problem with looking at something, re-examining it,
No,
possibly amending it.
Yeah.
and right now, nobody, this board, at least from what I've seen, nobody has an issue with us re-examining it and making changes as we see fit. By no means do I think that this bylaw as it sits is gonna be the same bylaw that Pownell has 100 years from now.
No, it would definitely.
Stuff's
it'll
gonna
all the way.
change.
But this is just that one step, and that's what I wanted to get going, because it's a step that we felt tied up on.
Yep.
And we need to do
I
something
would
because
say-
this is not our first time it's gonna happen.
No, this is.
I just think though that when you get these people that litigious, I don't know,
Well, you get on the borderline of being anti-business. If you stop small people doing in a rural area like this.
Right.
Which,
this is Vermont. I mean, this is
well, I
how
know
we
that,
always,
but if you go to court and get beat,
there's always
they'll
been
use it against us.
businesses out in the country.
But if we change the zoning bylaws to
Yeah.
where something like that is legal by the bylaws, they can't do it. They can appeal the bylaws and try to do a public vote and all that.
Yeah.
So like this guy, he can't, no matter what we do, I mean, he can't come in here and put, like you said, like leaky trucks and stuff leaking.
Yeah, no, he doesn't.
Or
he's trying to-
secretly dumping
process.
toxins,
Right.
like that. I
But
mean,
all that kind of stuff is already covered under existing
Right.
bylaws, environmental.
no,
laws.
that's what I'm saying. And there are businessmen, business persons, like in, places like New Jersey and just take it and dump it in the Meadowlands,
But
Right, and I don't want to get tied up on saying like.
So we don't want to give somebody,
That's
but,
on them to.
I mean, a garbage truck, that's,
But
something
I think
gotta be,
if you,
you've got to have restrictions on it, is what I'm saying.
if you grant site review required and
Right.
I think you can put language into the permit that the zoning administrator is allowed to go down quarterly.
Yeah. I think that's really good. Yeah, I think that's, not that he's gonna have time to do it quarterly, but
Well, no,
at least once a year, go down
in there in the morning, we should have been there in the afternoon while the trucks come in.
Yeah,
But I mean, we made 2 site visits there.
Right.
And one was not too good, it was muddy in the spring of the year, and the other was cleaned up a little bit.
cleaned up, straightened
And
out, put a fence up.
The light company been there, the water people have been there. So we kind of walked in there like, what are we supposed to do?
I just want to say, as a member of this commission, I was concerned when I watched that meeting.
Yeah.
At the way the DRB was being treated,
Yeah.
okay? And as a citizen, I think it was totally inappropriate for the people to come in. They weren't abutting people. They were business people, they're lawyers, et cetera. They're in a business of doing stuff, but it was not appropriate at that time because the DRB had a job to do and they weren't allowed to even start down the road of doing the job.
Well,
It was totally
they
inappropriate.
shouldn't have been allowed to speak then unless they were the direct representatives of abutting property owners then, because it wasn't a general public comment period.
Was wide open.
There's a limit. I mean, one was supposedly a realtor who was either representing or not anymore. And there's this mythical buyer.
I know. But I think we might close it off though.
Listen, we can rehash what happened at that meeting all we want. It's how should we, as the
Yeah.
planning commission, move forward and address any changes and concerns? And I think we've already, started a good groundwork on how we should proceed forward. So I think right now,
So I put a note there that, to refer to the setbacks on, you might want to add the setbacks, well, I think I put the number.
Yeah,
So I think that's important, that there should be.
Yeah, I don't think as far as setbacks and that kind of stuff, as far as a lot of the regulations are, I don't see any problem with that. Jimmy, no, don't.
yeah, setbacks and
But it
screens,
was-
I think are perfectly reasonable.
Our just specific concern of this was our ability to operate. They were taking away our ability to be
Exactly.
a board.
Well,
And that's what we're trying to figure
and
out.
I'm gonna play devil's advocate. They are right. It's not called out.
Right.
So that's why, well,
it's
you want to play that, let's put some language in that
We have
allows
to
it
do
that.
something to do that, because we need to be able to, me, Jimmy, or whoever's on that board down the road has to be able to say, here's those bylaws. Yes, we are that board, quasi judicial. We can look at this and go, maybe F, well, F, we can, it says this, but not that. We need something that says, okay, we can take that. That's pretty close to what you're doing. Maybe we
Kind
can
of make a variance.
Right, and a variance or.
You know,
two or
but like
something.
like you're saying, it makes it easier on a guy when he can, on a business.
The downfall with that permit.
When they can,
we weren't
they don't
there
have to
for a variance,
pay.
We were there for a permit.
Yes.
That was the difference.
That's-
If it was there for a variance, we would have had more control.
Yeah, and that's when you're getting into your procedural aspect of it, and that's where a lawyer can shut you down.
Right.
Yeah.
So that at that point, I think you're right to shut the meeting down and be like, he already had a different permit, so he could pull it, but at that point, he should be applying for a variance.
Right.
You were getting threatened. You were getting threatened at the end, take you to court and all this stuff that Mike said it's over.
Right, so shut it down.
Good.
You can't have that, but.
Yeah.
But I do recommend, if you got time, I would like to, August 1st meeting for the DRB. Go on, just take a look at it, watch that meeting. That was our last meeting we had with it, but you could see how that meeting went. It was very contentious. It was very zero control for the board, really. I mean, it wound up getting shut down based off of things that were said, but just watch it, give an
What's the
idea.
date of that meeting?
August 1st.
So
And
that's
just-
on the
just
website of the.
Yeah, it should
town
be
website?
on that, or YouTube has them, I think, too.
Oh, okay.
But just look at it, get an idea, and then again, we're looking at the wordage to try to throw in, maybe into this one, it's 5.23.
Specifically, it's the section.
For permitted uses, so it's in the new bylaws under 5.23 permitted uses, or conditional uses is 5.24,
And
so.
that's for RR2? Is that the same thing needed in RR1?
I don't know, I didn't read that far.
That's, yeah, we gotta find out. Cause I think R1 and R2 shouldn't have that big of a difference. It should be, you should be able to do these types of things. And people were doing them. Michelle has a business, I have a business. Everybody down South Stream Road, there's businesses all the way down it, no matter where you go. There's people everywhere. And all of a sudden, we can't.
Yeah.
It's like all of these, we've been able to do this. Why can't you have this? And then if you're saying no to everybody, where have businesses come to? Like Stacy said, how do we promote business? How do we do that if we can't
Well, and
We
it's,
can't enforce anything. We can't make.
Well, I mean, the former commercial district became village district.
Right, they're now village, but what do you do? Because you can't, what if somebody can't, their business, I'll just say it this way. My thought was, when I was thinking of this, something to think about. The trash business. You got these trucks, one of the concerns from the people were the smell. Now, none of the times we were there, we never smelled anything. He does have dumpsters sitting there. I couldn't smell anything. One of the other people on the DRB lives right across the street. She says she can't smell anything. Smell obviously is not that bad then, but that was their concern. Now, if they can't put it in R1 or R2, you have to put it in a village district. That means somewhere right here in town. So if you had to put it in town here or down there on that village or that village.
commercial district, was there?
No, but let's say Casella. Casella's in a pretty neighborhood
Right.
area.
Right.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I don't have any complaints in that area,
I don't
okay?
hear it either.
And they, how many trucks go in there a day?
Right.
Oh, my God.
But they're basically, under these the way it's set up right now, we don't have any control. So they're basically saying, my understanding of it is saying you have to go into those villages with all that stuff. So now are you putting it next to this house or putting it next to that house? You know, where?
So wait, isn't there a commercial district?
No, commercial district, so is now village district.
Village district stuff is what it all got changed to.
No, now combined with former commercial district.
Right.
It's right in the definition of it.
There is an industrial district, isn't there?
That's what we're.
Well, technically industrial is covered where the sewage wastewater treatment facility is.
Right.
The Mac molding warehouse essentially at this point.
And that
And
was,
also-
a lot of that stuff was
It was that
taken
little
out
sliver of land just south of,
on the other end.
And what
Yeah,
about,
Stewart's.
the racetrack? What is that? Isn't that?
That's
part-
mixed use now, isn't it?
Well,
well, actually,
Mixed-
over half of it's now floodplain.
right.
Technically, half that building sits in floodplain.
It's on the floodplain, yeah.
It's all in there.
So the building's in violation of its own footprint at this point.
But
The
the,
solar panels are in the flood zone.
Yeah, but those are allowed.
Electric and water go good together.
they do. But.
They do.
What we're working on still, which is when we get the BCRC back in, is finding locations for industrial. Because that was gone off. of our-
Finding areas that we could potentially
Potentially
rezone.
put something in.
Yeah.
Zone. So we don't have it currently. We're looking at putting something back in, at least an option for somebody to go. This is just R1, R2, small businesses trying to do stuff. We just need to be able to function around that. So the idea is just put something together, think about it for
Yeah,
our
Do you
next
want to
meeting.
put a space limit on that? I mean, like, do we?
Well, we can put an acreage
Small
limit, like,
businesses, but what if somebody, decided to, park like 50 Amazon trucks out?
Well, that would be, that's above the thresholds that has to have a bigger location.
yeah, so we can put definitions in there. There's
What is the
already some in there.
definition then?
Acreage sizes,
Right.
you need to have
You could go
minimum.
up, you could go up to a certain number of vehicles. You could do a lot of different things.
Yeah.
They're all
Yeah, and I think-
registered as unregistered, you have to have no more than 3, so we already cleared that. But if you're registered
Yeah, I-
vehicles in a business, you could fit just so many in. I mean, that's the language we're gonna try to work on this, and just get something in it because, and a thought, just some kind of thought. too.
Am I wrong? Some of in the bylaws, some limitations, there are some limitations on earth moving? Like how many yards a day are moved or whatever?
I have
How
not
many
seen
trucks?
that, but
Well,
it's called out in
I've
section
seen
8
that
something.
somewhere.
Let's go back to the biomass plant. Okay, that was a big operation at the racetrack.
Yeah.
And everybody came together on that and it was well handled. But, not for them, but, it was a big issue. So as they come along, we'll handle it.
Right. And that,
They'll know what's coming.
right. And this is the situation at hand. That's what we need
We
to
got trapped in this one.
Right. So.
Same thing happened.
And again,
with the guy up
we'll
on
probably have more.
Seven Last time,
We could potentially.
We're working on it.
I don't know, we don't know.
I know.
punch your way out of a paper bag.
Okay.
But go ahead. You guys got anything else you guys want to add? Stacy, Michelle?
just like what you were saying with, when Megan was talking about like the 50 Amazon trucks. Yeah, I mean, you could set a limit and then again, put in, if more are needed, DRB approval. So you can take those things on a, have a limit, but a case by case, because, it may not be a big deal, on certain things. So that way, it also gives the DRB back the power to,
Right.
work with the community on these things.
Yeah.
If they want to be that big, I think it'd be at the racetrack.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought we just
No.
lost everything.
Yeah, I mean,
So you could put it
again,
down.
if you had, somebody had 100 acres and they're putting 50 trucks in, you could probably fit it if it's a big enough
We
area.
used to put
5 acre
6,000
area.
cars down there.
Right. So yeah, that would more likely probably be a commercial, anything.
Yeah.
Or industrial.
Well, I know some of the areas we've driven by when we've gone camping where you'll see these like little tiny lots that like, yeah, where they're packed in, you'll see 75, 100 Amazon trucks and it's literally just a parking lot in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we don't have locations, I don't think we'll settle for that, but
Just one.
maybe one, yeah.
It'll come.
Racetrack.
But
Someday.
in this case, I want to try to just stick to the problem that we have.
Yep.
In enforcement of this stuff now. So I want to just think about it till the next meeting anyway, just get an idea, jot some things down when you think of them, whatever, come up with something. And then we'll rehash this, what we've got written now, and just kind of see if we can formulate something.
Do we want to invite
And see if we can get.
BCRC down for that next meeting, or do you want to
If we can get.
do another discussion, then invite them afterward?
I think just maybe have Matt come in on that next one if we can. I mean, Hannah could try to get a hold of him or something. If I see him around, I'll talk with him too, but,
So our next meeting is in
Just-
2 weeks?
yeah, yes,
6.
yes, 2 weeks.
So the 20th?
20th.
Yes, I would call on 20.
Parks and Rec, that's when you guys' meeting.
Well, I was going to say Parks and Rec is scheduled for that day.
At 6 now.
Is
Oh, no,
Parks,
I think I talked to, we'll go the week after that, I think.
Week after that? Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I talked to Tara, that's right, I remember that now.
So the
So we'll
27th,
go the following Tuesday.
27th, would that be?
Yeah.
Only because Parks and Recs had took that our other day.
So then we would have a meeting on the 27th and then again on the first Tuesday.
Potentially.
So that's like 3 or 4 days later, right?
It's close, but it's all right.
So maybe for
Unless the board wants
following
to,
meeting, maybe we could have BCRC. show.
unless everybody wants to just move it to the following month again, beginning of next month. It's up to the board. We can have that. It's gonna be close to the next month's meeting too. You're going to.
We meet on the 27th and then we meet again on what's the first Tuesday?
the 4th? It'd be 1 week later.
1 week later. So we,
I really don't think we would need to do that. If we met on the 27th, I'd say you could almost cancel the 4th meeting at that point unless you have any urgent business that comes up. Otherwise, I'd say wait till the 4th, wait till the next scheduled meeting. My recommendation, we reach out to the BCRC. We let them know what we would like to do. Ask them to come down and meet with us and have him come down on the 4th.
Yeah.
we want to shoot for the 4th instead of.
Yeah, because then that gives plenty of time for the BCRC to get.
Well, what
get something
about
lined
Matt
up.
though? When is Matt coming? Matt?
So Hannah,
Gardner.
if we could try to get Matt for the 4th.
Okay, so that's
Have them both come in at the same time.
October 4th.
Because again, I
We're
want.
gonna have to get the BCRC involved, and the earlier you can do that with them, like,
Right.
they seem to be pretty good responsive wise at helping with our requests. They're not trying to steer the conversation, they'll offer suggestions,
Right.
but
Yeah,
they
that's
do
fine.
seem to like, they want to work with the towns.
They share
what
with
the
their
towns want.
experiences.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's,
That's fine with me, yeah, I would be happy.
and at the very least, they might be able to like, oh yeah, you guys can do this in a simple vote with 2 public hearings and be done with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so we can get that, so we'll shoot for the 4th. And we'll see if we can get BCRC, somebody from them to come down with us, and Matt from,
Matt Gardner?
Yeah.
From DRB.
and see if we can get them to come in and just voice some opinion
Are
on
you,
it.
are you gonna reach out to Matt before then though? Kind of let
Yes.
him know what we want, that way he can give us some thought.
Yeah, I'll catch up with him, and Hannah could, if you could send a message, so she'll get something to him, and then I'll try to catch up with him myself too. So we can get something, then the 4th, we'll shoot for the 4th and see if we can hash out some more of this. But it gives you time to think about it too. Gives you time to look at those. I would just suggest it, if you want to see it and get an idea of what we went through for the DRB. That's that August 1st meeting.
May I have this paper copy or do you need it?
Yeah, I was sticking them here so we had them, that's all,
Okay,
but,
I just wanted to have a paper copy because it's,
yep.
I think we have-
to read stuff like this on this little tiny screen.
We have a lot of copies of the bylaws somewhere. Hannah, do you know where there's extra copies?
I just had them print this off, so.
Yeah, we only have a couple in here. We can print them off if you're looking for them.
On the website, right?
It's on the
You don't
website.
want to have that. I haven't.
Yeah, it's on the website
I
now.
have a copy of the old one. I don't have a copy of the new one.
If we need a copy, no one, they can get them right here.
Yeah.
We got it.
It's just
I
easier
never
for me to be
got
able to review it
minutes.
instead of trying to pull it up on my phone.
I know.
And that's what I did. I had her print them because I wanted to just stick them in the mailbox
Yeah,
here.
especially when I'm trying to go back from
I
page to
hate
page. to
reading
page.
online. It's
Me
just
too.
That's what I was running into.
Well,
I
especially
didn't
when
want
like,
eyes go
you know,
crossed.
per section, then I have to go back 10 pages. And
Yeah.
Give me the paper so I can pull it out.
Annoying.
All right,
I
so,
move we
Adjourn.
adjourn.
I second.
hold on. we got-
What happened to the minutes?
We got public comment first.
Oh, yes.
Is there anybody for public comment?
Nobody's in.
Nobody's in there? Okay.
What, Stacy,
So-
you got a question?
Yeah, I never got the minutes of the August 5th meeting.
Uh-oh.
And I don't think we approved that either.
Yeah, we did. You approved.
They were in the email.
Yes.
Didn't he say?
Yes, that's the ones, yes, that's the ones we just did.
Okay,
We just did approval on them.
okay.
Those are all set.
Yeah, they were in the email today at 11:05.
Yeah.
Okay.
Are you getting your emails too?
No, I have to see Tara.
Oh,
Okay.
he's still got to get set up on
Yeah,
the
you got
email.
to, yeah, you got to get the new one set up.
My
Yeah.
home computer.
Yeah, try to catch up with Tara on that.
Yeah, that was,
Or
it was fun. I mean, once you.
if you got time, stop in here to see her. She could do it real quickly.
Yeah, she did mine today. It took like less than
Yeah.
5 minutes.
Yeah, it doesn't take long.
Yeah.
She's quick on getting it set up, so.
Well, now that she's done 20 of them, she's got.
Yeah, it's like, bam, done. But, okay, so, that's,
She said there was nobody in.
Oh, nobody, okay.
yeah, so nobody in public comments, so we'll move to adjourn.
I so move.
Aye.
I.
Aye.
And I'm an aye.
Second?
Well, it had already been seconded, but then we had the whole debacle with.
Okay, good. Aye.
All right, meeting
We all
adjourned.
agree.
Super.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, see you on the 4th.